Good Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Today, we'll be speaking with Maia Monasterios, and our topic is resonance, balance, and consciousness. Three things that we're both very passionate about in our lives and what we're sharing, the gifts that we have to offer to the world. So Maia is a new friend. This is actually the first time we're actually having a one-on-one conversation together. I just love that that's happening. I met her recently through our Eden couples community, and she moved to Sonoma County, very close to me. So I'm so excited to be sitting here. Grab a cup of tea, sit down with us, like we're going to have our chat as girlfriends at the coffee shop, right? So Maia, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are, what you do in the world, what you're passionate about.
Thank you, Anastara, and thank you for inviting me here today. I was so excited to meet you, knowing how much soul alignment we have and the incredible work you're doing in the world. For me, the alignment comes both in the, body, mind, and spirit. I've been on a journey my whole life and lifetimes, working on my own spiritual practice and studying with masters all over the world, from Buddhist monks to indigenous shamans to deep mystics and mystery schools. And I've been highly trained in that. And then multiple lifetimes, dual lifetimes, I've been also a filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker, documentaries for National Geographic and TV and a lot of other mainstream networks. But really my passion has been about consciousness and about using media as a tool to activate us, to basically wake up our dormant DNA, our real soul's purpose, and help awaken humanity towards evolving our consciousness as a collective. So that's really been my activation, my mission, and my service in the world. So that's led me to work with Gaia TV, with doing a lot of independent documentaries about metaphysical subject matter and consciousness, sound healing, as well as working now with Illuminate Film Festival, where we're amplifying and finding the most talented and beautiful films and filmmakers that are really on this mission too, and supplying that for the world to really access. So it's been it's been a pleasure to basically meet my tribe and other fellow pioneers in this arena to see if we can really educate and ground all of what we're doing also in science, to really unify the science, the spirituality, so we can really map consciousness. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you about that, like really where resonance and balance kind of comes into our mapping of consciousness and our responsibility, our social responsibility in what we're creating, the media and the art that we're creating in the world, because it really becomes a transmission of our own embodiment, of our own initiated medicine, our own soul's journey. What we hold in our consciousness gets imprinted in all the art and the film that we create in the world. So it's exciting to see a lot of incredibly talented filmmakers waking up and being of service in the messages that they're creating and weaving into these films. I see us all as essentially opening up as channels collectively to the new story that's emerging for humanity that we really want to live into. That's the more beautiful world we know is possible.
So well put. Thank you. Yeah, feeling in full alignment with that. A huge part of 1111 Unify and our mission, our purpose really is to unify people with or around the world for global gatherings. And so we want to have multiple gatherings at sacred sites where we take these sacred pilgrimages to the sacred sites, where we activate them together in ceremony, or reactivate them, I should say, and be activated by them and receive the messages and the transmissions that come through. And my husband, he's very much into 3D filming technology and the VR goggles. So we're talking about all sorts of ideas where we can integrate that. And you can create your own avatar and be present with us at the sacred sites. And so as I travel to Egypt, I actually leave on Sunday. I'll be there for 3 weeks. And then I'll be visiting Turkey on the way home to stop by Göbekli Tepe and the Temple of Artemis. And so as I venture through this pilgrimage to the sacred sites, I'll be taking notes and really first of all, being there to just be in the presence of the wisdom that is there to be offered, and to just be an open vessel of receptivity, and write more of my book, and just be in the feeling and the energy and the resonance field that's created at these sacred sites. And so I'm very, very excited about all of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just spoke with Jamie Janover. We had a call about frequency, our last mastermind, and we talked about the pyramids and sacred sites and how the energy fields change there, right? The electromagnetic fields themselves. And so I wanted to jump into more about balance and resonance with you, and let's just dive into that a little bit. What would you like to start with?
Well, I just want to say I'm again, you are one of the activated pioneers on this journey. I feel like so many of us are pollinators, are being activated as pollinators. We're being, carried forth to these different sites to bring, our embodied medicine, but also to be activated and to help spread these energies and codes throughout the planet. And really, I see us, as a whole, evolving in a way that we have these nodes coming online with new sets of consciousness, right? These sacred sites you're going to are essentially like anchor points, acupuncture points, if you could say, on the planet, right? And it's so awesome that you're going there with that level of consciousness, that you're going there knowing that you're receiving something, you're giving something, and that you're also in a position to amplify that resonance through to people using media. There's something really powerful that COVID has taught us, I think, and that's like, energy, vibration. It goes beyond just even obviously our physical, touch and our physical connection. So much of us have been separated, for family, loved ones. We're using Zoom so much like this to connect. We're living 45 minutes from each other. We're connecting through Zoom, but there's a felt sense of a field that we're all actually a part of, that we're never separate from, and we're all like swimming in the ocean of that vibratory field together. And what happens when we like ping our like higher resonance, we basically ripple effect that, out to consciousness, out to everyone. And the beauty of that is like, what are we rippling? Right? Are we rippling our fear? Are we rippling our, our mistrust? Or are we actually like sending waves of love and openness and trust and deepening? And by going to these sites, you're able to kind of like open yourself to attune, right? To be attuned by the history and the practice, the depth of practice that has been, and the temples that are holding the space, the land that's holding the resonance. And then by sharing that energy, you're also helping to essentially hit a tuning fork for the planet. That's what's so exciting. You're calling out a tone. You're sending out an invitation to the universe, the one song, to be in harmonic resonance with you. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the power of entrainment, right? Whenever we're in a room or in a field, right, of consciousness, or in a collective experience, whoever's really holding the most coherent signal, steady, like a steady heartbeat, the most coherent signal. Even this happens with like singing bowls, and this happens with metronomes, but whatever is the strongest, most coherent signal starts to entrain the others, like starts to vibrate in such a way that it's felt, and then there's a resonant vibration, two sounds starting to sync and vibrate together. And when we are in sync, that it like exponentially creates like an amplification, right? An amplification of our access, of our spiritual access, of our higher consciousness, of our connection to our hearts, of our connection to our true nature. And it's something that we can do as simply as like even just taking a breath. You know, we can get so busy minded, like running around, and then like our attention's pulled, on Facebook or on something that somebody said, and we don't realize that it's a choice to bring our attention and have our energy field be sort of scattered, and it's a practice to keep coming back in and making the conscious choice of like, what am I tuning myself to?
Yeah.
What am I tuning myself to? And nature is the biggest, calibrator of like, I'm curious, like what you're noticing and playing with in your travels. Like, I imagine you've already gone on several journeys to sacred sites, and I'd love to hear your experience, of how you felt before, during, and afterwards.
Yeah, indeed. So well put. As you were saying, we're all connected to this. Greg Braden calls it the divine matrix, and Nassim Haramein calls it the unified field, right? And there's this energy that connects us all. We're all these single points. I like to say that we're all rainbow fractals of the same white diamond light. And so, right. And so when, as you say, when you're activated and when you step into action, and it's not just words, but you actually move into action in your life, you send a ripple effect, whether that is love or peace or unity. And so, they always say, begin within. Like, if you want to make a change in the world, make a change in yourself. And even Michael Jackson said, change the man in the mirror, right? Like, it's so true. And so this has been something that has been potent and poignant for me in the last year. I moved from being a very big extrovert and working in a lot of productions. I was on production teams for festivals and performing, fire dancing on stage. And then moving into my home space and really just being on my land and really connecting to nature, putting my hands in the dirt and really cultivating our garden that we are still being fed off of, even through the winter, and really grounding into what is my message? What is the next chapter for me? What is going to set me on fire? What's my spark, right? And so coming into resonance through dance my whole life, I really learned how to cultivate my energy and move it, and to be in the flow, so to speak. So I've always been a moving meditator, and so to finally have a moment where I can sit for a period of time, also, I found that there was even a deeper heart coherence that occurred. And so in April of last year, my husband gifted me with a week off from being wife and mother. And I went up to Mount Shasta in the RV. And I parked it right at the base of a rock called the Sphinx Rock, because when you look at it from afar, it looks like the Sphinx. And so I had a view of Mount Shasta from there. It's my friend's land in Gazelle. And I spent a week just writing, just channeling, taking walks with her, being out in nature, and then writing some more. And what really started to come through was that my work with 1111, we called it Unification Celebration for 10 years. That particular gathering of people, the in-person event, needed to be expanded into a virtual event that includes multiple live events. And so 1111 Unify was birthed last year. And so when I go to a sacred site, I find that I could be in a little bit of inner turmoil or questioning, like, what am I supposed to do? What is next? And then when I'm in that coherence and I'm in that resonance field and I really drop in and listen, I get clarity. And through the writing is such a process for me. And through the writing, I get a lot of clarity. And other things are birthed too, you know, the book, the 1111 Mystic Initiation Program that I hope to birth by the end of the year. These things come through, and I am just a vessel to deliver them, so to speak. And so sacred sites have been a beautiful part of my life, and I'm so passionate about going to as many of them as possible on the planet. So thank you for asking.
I'm right. Oh yeah, I'm right with you, girl. No, seriously, because I love that you brought up Shasta, because Mount Shasta has also been a really important like activation initiation for me. And I had a similar experience when I went there. I was actually at a crossroads in between, you know, working like almost like neck break pace in Manhattan, you know, working for these big companies and on these big productions, but feeling like there's something like I wasn't surrounded by, you know, like-minded resonance, right? Like people that really got what we were doing and the social responsibility of what we were creating. And it felt like I was swimming upstream a little bit for a time in my life. And I just sat with myself, finally, you know, took some pause and said, instead of having this dual life, like, you know, living and working in Manhattan and then like taking 3 months off at a time and going and living on a biodynamic, you know, farm in Hawaii, you know, or going to Peru for 2 months and like, you know, diving into shamanic training with ayahuasca and like, you know, all of these things. And then kind of going back into the sort of like, you know, the front lines. I was like, how can I integrate you know, and be surrounded by like soul family. And where are them? I'm like, I know I'm not alone. You know, I'm not a lone shaman here. Where's my tribe? And I was called on a quest to sacred sites during the eclipse. Sorry, not the eclipse. The solar eclipse. I believe in 2017. It was seen from the U.S. And I drove with a dear, you know, priestess sister of mine from Manhattan, New York, to guided actually to Nashville, and on the way, without even knowing about it prior, like endless synchronicities guided me to Serpent Mound in Ohio. Serpent Mound, which few people know about, and it is the most ancient site in the U.S. Actually, Ohio is full of these ancient mounds. You know, tens of thousands of years. They can't even date it. It's so old, and it's got literally the same codes, same ley line as Egypt and the pyramids, and with the same codings, even more astrological and like historical, you know, mathematical. Like precision, they created this beautiful serpent snake with a coiled tail and an open mouth that's literally either regurgitating or swallowing an egg, a seed of life. And I was drawn there, and there was this meeting of souls of this other, you know, twin flame couple that kind of came into my field and recognized that we were meant to be in ceremony together, and we exchanged medicine, and they essentially told me that they were called on the quest for Mount Shasta, and I was called from New York, and we had come there synchronistically to sort of weave to converge and share codes and share resonant fields and share, you know, our journeys and be nourished by them and be guided by that, right? As we shared our stories, we were guided, and it was clear that Mount Shasta was calling me, and it was clear to them that New York was calling them, and we were like weaving something, you know, in the energetic field, reactivating the song lines. And like, you know, it's you know, like etching out those synapses. Like it's the, you know, the grid and the planet is the synapses of, you know, the brain of Gaia, or the heart field of Gaia. So we're essentially kind of aligning ourselves with the pathways of resonance of higher consciousness when we do these pilgrimages. And so anyway, so I had this incredible life-changing womb healing, actually, that I had in Serpent Mound. I'd had a lot of sexual trauma when I was younger, and really had fully given myself the space to unpack that and to heal that. And I sat in the mouth of the serpent, and the egg as if it was coming out of me and returning to me, this divine seed and womb that I was and that I was a part of. And the message that came through was so powerful. It was like, in order to be a divine creator, we must accept and forgive all of our creations, even if they come out distorted, that there are no mistakes in this life, that we have the ability to learn and be initiated by everything, and be, let it be our teacher, and let our life, accept and embrace all of it, and find the peace within it, find the purpose within it. And I was able to really go into those dark places and rewrite my story about it, about who I was, what I'd done or what I didn't do, or what was possible, if life would ever come through my womb again. It was very deep trauma I was working with. And by the end of it, I literally felt like I entered this fractal, field of endless possibility, of creative field, I call it, essentially. But it's like the ground of being, where it was just infinite amount of light and color. And essentially it was like, what do you want to create? You are here to be a creator. You're here to receive, infinite amount of energy to create the next wave of evolution, the next, really it's every little thing that we do. If we're in a creative space, we're essentially being resonant frequencies. We're tuning to God and source, because that is creative. The creative impulse is that same impulse. And I realized that I had disconnected myself with that, from that trauma. When I reopened that space, it was like I was reborn. I was completely reborn to endless possibility. And then from that place was like, you need to write. I got the same download as you. I was like, you need to write, you need to share, you need to, not just sort of be behind the scenes and try to kind of, sneak your message into places. No, there are people ready to receive it, fully. If we can own it, if we can only own it fully, there's so many people that are looking for that permission too, And so I finally was gifted from that sacred site permission to go there. And it said, go to Shasta next.
Wonderful.
Because Shasta was going to be able to then, bring this new seed into now my newly reborn fertile womb of creation. It was so powerful, and it showed the importance of us sharing our journey like this with the younger generation, right? And to the new ones coming in, they're so close to source and so close to the new information that's being needed to come through into the field right now to help humanity. And I'll say this last thing is that I really got that the role of the artist. The role of the artist is to listen deeply to that which humanity needs to hear the most right now, to remember who we really are. Yeah. And that's it. And if we just open ourselves and kind of be on that, the going to the sites is like a ceremony to clear out. Is how I see it, is to clear ourselves out of the cobwebs of the filters we've, adopted through conditioning, the traumas or the societal expectations, to just empty out of all of that. Because the more we can be a hollow bone, right, hollow reed, the more we can actually be connected to infinite possibility. The more we can connect to our highest expression, our highest self. And I was able to do that. I emptied out. It was like composting, emptied out at Serpent Mound. It was carried over through the song lines, passing through the petroglyph, shamanic initiation portals in Reno, and then entering Mount Shasta. And Mount Shasta was like a major I felt like I was on another planet. It was such a major activation of okay, it was like she said to me, Maya, it's time to not mess around. You've you've done so your kind of your work on the front lines. You've learned, your craft, you understand where, and can be compassionate to yourself and to others, and where we're all at. Because I lived the spectrum, right? Into my shadow. And then I was like, okay, so now it's time to wake up as a leader. And that was a powerful message. It was like a like, okay, like Mama Gaia and Shasta were like, you know, we need to empower the feminine, and in order to empower the feminine, we need to be empowered feminine, you know, and not and use our voices again, and use our song, and use our passion, our expression, and give permission to other women to do so right now, because we are so being called to bring in the feminine principle and reweave it into consciousness right now. Like that is the biggest resonant sort of like, and it's waking up in men too. You know, it doesn't matter the gender. It's really just it's a yin principle that's reawakening right now.
Yeah.
And it called me to be and so Shasta called me to be a mother. Told me to move to Boulder to connect with a temple, a sacred temple there called the Star House. You might have heard of the Star House in Boulder. And it was there. It was like very clear. You will meet your soul tribe. You know, you will meet your beloved. You will, you know, and it happened. I came to work for Gaia at that time, which is what led me there. And incredible things started to happen. I realized, obviously, I wasn't alone. And the more I was embodying and owning who I really was, not just kind of like a little bit of it. And the more I did that, the more I became that tuning fork. I became that beacon. Some people call it strange attractor, but essentially you start to magnetize to you like-minded resonant fields. And you can start, you know, like concentric circles, you start to link like the flower of life and fractal out together and nourish each other. And like, it's incredible. Like it becomes like an upward spiral of you know, upward just evolution. It's like we enter the slipstream of consciousness, where we actually surrender and trust more in life rather than trying to control it. And that's what like rapidly pushes us all together forward in synchrony. In synchrony. And I've had so many, so thank you for sharing that story, because it just enlivened me sharing that, which I wasn't expecting to share. But it's just so exciting to, like, you know, there's a magic in it, and there's a real truth to these places. There's a reason why our ancestors really cultivated the energies in these places, and there's a reason why we're being called to remember and to reconnect. And like you, I feel like we're gonna probably end up traveling together at some point. Like you, I
was thinking the same thing.
I was like, I'm called to Egypt too. I mean, I wish it was not. It's not. You know, we're all kind of called when we're meant to be called. So it's coming later for me in the year, but it's coming really soon this year. So I feel like we're just like that couple that I met that was like coming from Shasta, and we were, you know, exchanging batons, right? You know, and lighting sacred flat fire, right? I feel like we're doing that too. And I'm really, I love hearing about what you're going to do in terms of sharing it with the world. I feel called to that too. I'm so excited to share with you this. So the way that I'm kind of like, working it with Luminous Stories, right? Luminous Stories is my production company for conscious media. And I work with Illuminate Film Festival. I work with, you know, Unify and Gaia and these different companies, but essentially I'm also producing animated shamanic activations, journey films. So essentially where it's like an immersive experience, and people are getting the frequencies of the sound healing. I mean, like working with people like Elijah Ray and Dea Dova and Yaima, like these are all these people that I'm bringing on to the project. But essentially we're rewriting classic fairy tales. So classic fairy tales where those have held us in some ways, you know, anchored us in the past, in the sort of the past perceptions of reality. And without us knowing it, kind of working in the background, you know, in our subconscious, there's these archetypes, and they're being called to be rewritten. We are being called to rewrite them. And so my partner and I have started the company to start with Snow White. as the first anchor. Snow White was the first fairy tale that Disney ever created, from the Grimm's fairy tales, and they rewrote it too. They rewrote it from its original. So there's all, you can kind of see the cultural imprints in these stories. I mean, that's how every spiritual tradition taught their culture what to believe, is through parables, is through myth. So if we don't take responsibility for the myths that we're holding and what we're living into, then we could stay stuck in the past. So this is our calling, basically, to channel the new story. And so my piece is this part. And so we're creating a new version of Snow White, called Snow White, and we're actually between two titles: Snow White and the Seven Initiations.
Yes.
Or Snow White and the Seven Realms. We've been kind of back and forth. The original title was Snow White and the Seven Chakras.
Yes.
So, but essentially, you'll get this. She goes on a journey of awakening. Yeah. She goes on a journey of awakening. And it's really about her heroine's journey as it weaves the hero's journey. It rewrites the codes of unity consciousness, of the masculine and the feminine. But essentially, instead of her eating the apple and falling, asleep and needing to be saved by a charming prince, and she does nothing because she's just like this helpless female, it's completely rewriting that story to be, there's a distorted queen because of trauma, and controlling because of fear, and she ends up putting the whole kingdom into a sleep and a trance of forgetting who they are. And Snow White, Sophia, the divine principle of the feminine, actually gets called back into nature, gets called to an enchanted forest, finds a magical tree called the Tree of Life, is entered and called into a portal into it, and basically goes on a journey through these 7 realms and meets 7 sages, which are the dwarves, but they're more like Yodas.
Yeah.
They're like these divine beings, men and female, dwarf-like beings that are basically shamanic guides that guide her into reflecting to her what is the story that she's holding about herself and about her world and where she comes from, and what is she need to rewrite to open up to a new possibilities, to her fullest self, to her highest potential, to actually awakenings powers within her she didn't realize she had, that are deeply connected to the elements. The 5 elements. And so she goes up the Tree of Life to these different realms. And ultimately it's about, what does it take to get to infinity? What does it take to get to the 8th gate? And who do we have to become to enter the 8th gate, which is unity consciousness? So we're really excited about making this film, because it's really going to be like a very, almost a psychedelic journey, but also being able to reach anyone and, at any level of consciousness. Yeah, and really down the light.
Okay, I want to speak to this because, girl, I'm like, wow, you just, so many things. We get to play together. This is going to be fun. So yeah, my girlfriend, Michaela Miracula, and I have been talking for quite some time about rewriting children's books, and she already rewrites children's music. So, for instance, the Hokey Pokey, we're like, put the love in, take the hate out, put the love in and stir it all about. You do the hocus pocus and you turn that shift around. That's what it's all about, right? So Jack and Jill opens their crown, right? Because so much of it, Ring Around the Rosies, Pocket Full of Posies, was about the plague. Like, how could children even sing about people dying and having flowers in their pocket to... so the point is
that's what people have forgotten.
Reinventing. And right. So even as you spoke of the Snow White and the eating of the apple, I had this image because I will be going to Turkey. It's considered the cradle of civilization. Some scientific evidence is starting to show that it truly was the Garden of Eden, a particular area of Turkey. Yes. And to go back to that moment where Eve ate the apple and was the original sinner, that was the spiral of the feminine, downward spiral of the feminine, and the raise of the hierarchy and the masculine, patriarch. And so how that shame and that guilt of the original sinner as a woman, and healing that feminine aspect in all of us that we aren't. And so to actually be present and be in that place while I'm going through the Portal Priestess program with Sierra and Avina, you know, these two ladies from Eden, they've created this whole program on how women can reclaim our yoni power, how we can be embodied from experiencing being in reverence and sacred reverence for our portals, our sacred portals, and reclaiming our power and our sovereignty. And so to be during this program, to be in Turkey in that moment in space, I am so looking forward to this, because this is what I'm here to do now. It's like, okay, it's my mission to like rewrite the story, reclaim, and being at these sacred sites that we're all being called to. It's like the sacred sites are, as you said, like our ancestors created them for a reason. They are power points. They are meridian points on the planet. And just as we need to heal our chakra and our meridian systems, we need to do that on a planetary level as well. And so one of my wishes for my birthday in June, I planted the seed with my family, is to just get in the RV and go for a drive, because I would like to go to Mesa Verde and Zion and Four Corners and Sedona and these places, these sacred sites in America as well. I mean, they just unearthed gold pieces with Egyptian hieroglyphs in the Grand Canyon. You know, we have them right here in our own country. So let's talk about a road trip, sister.
Exactly. No, and I've been to a lot of them. I've been to all of what you just mentioned. As a child, I went to Mesa Verde. You know, like I was very connected to the Rosicrucian and Mystery School, and as a child, and went to the Egyptian Museum to remember my past lives when I was like 5 years old. You know, I was lucky to have like really been empowered in that way from a young age, and even still, you know, there's an imprint of society from these stories, and women have had to really rewrite a lot of the shame that we've inherited of what of our bodies, of how we are as women, and rewrite that to be actually reclaiming our power and our purpose and what we're really here to do in terms of nurturing, and really stewarding life in a very responsible, like conscious way. Like this is what the planet's really excited. Gaia is really excited about us coming online, because really Gaia can self-heal. Like we're not really, sometimes I say we're planetary healers, but planetary healers in the sense that we're actually attuning with Gaia to heal ourselves, to get back into harmonic resonance, to be you know, healthy stewards again with this planet, co-creators with this planet. And the tuning to the chakra points of the planet, to these nodes, are essentially like, it's really attuning all of humanity. It's where humanity has gone out of sync. It's where humanity is like started to sing a distorted song, which I can get. We can go down a whole we know
it's happening. It's dissolving on its own. We don't need to participate.
But what's great is that, like, I'm so excited to share this too, because we're also going for this project to the sacred sites around the world to record the songs that are going at these temples and in these sites, to record the music that's going to be in the film. So it goes through this initiatory journey and enters every realm. There's a sound frequency that's going to come in. So the film itself will be like a sound healing, and it will be a transmission directly from these sacred sites and from the ceremonies that we perform there with these musicians. So that's a big part of the project too, so that it's all kind of, you know, encapsulated within the rewriting of the actual myth and story and the archetypes, but also in the energy. I think people take for granted a lot the importance of the sort of stewarding the energy within art. You know, what is the message that we're saying, and what are we being when we're saying it? That's a big, I'm sure you're getting this too with what you're taking on as a mission, because when I took this when I was like, yes, Mount Shasta, or yes, Source, yes, you know, divine feminine, I'm ready for this mission. My life like got really intense really fast because then the creation of the art becomes our initiation, becomes like
Yes.
our activation. Like we have to be in complete alignment with it in order to be able to be in integrity telling the story. So every bit of that I've written, everything that I've developed within the story, or kind of an open and channeling, it's worked me in my life. Like it's moved me through some deep healing processes. It like called in my divine partner, and we've been on this deep dance and journey healing the story between the masculine and the feminine. And it's been such a gift in that way, because when you really open to allowing that kind of resonance, where the projects we take on, the life purpose and mission also becomes, our teacher. Like we're all spiritual teachers. We're all medicine carriers, because we all have the embodied wisdom of our life, and everything we create opens us up to the field to up level ourselves even more. And I would say that I'm grateful for it, because it has had me move out of my comfort zone. Right. And push through to actually be able to live into what's being called of us.
Oh, really? You want to go to the sacred sites? Well, that trip you were going to Egypt last year that got canceled because of a pandemic? Guess what? It's rescheduled, and you have to go now, or you're not going. It's like the universe just, and as we say, and we step into our purpose, something that happened or occurred with me, and I won't go into the whole story of it, is a name change comes. And I've always been Candace my whole life. And even as I was a performer, I never took on a performer name. And Anastara came to me 16 years ago, the name itself. And as it got closer, I was in Shasta on our annual houseboat party. And one early morning, the energy came through, and she's like, hey, guess what? You're not going to say no anymore. Now is the time. Like, we're going to step into action. This is what's going to happen. And I said, okay. And once I opened that floodgate, synchronicity after sign, just like alignment, starseed family stepping forward saying, yes, I want to help. Yes, I want to this. Yes, I want to that. Sign me up, and once you're clear and you're activated, and the message is clear, and the invitation is clear, and the enrollment to bring people in is clear, people just show up. And that resonance and the harmonic field, as you say, the interlinking circles that create the flower of life and ripples out, starts to be created. And I'm starting to see even overlapping ones. It's like with you now, and then unify.org, and then Gaia, and like all these pieces, just, okay, it'll be beautiful to see how it all unfolds. So I'm just thrilled that we are initiating our life journey together here in front of the world to watch and witness.
I know. I love your invitation. I love your invitation to have these candid conversations about, because really that's the invitation. We're beyond the point of needing to wait for permission. We all really need to give ourselves permission to be who we really are, to really express our truth, and to answer the calling of life right now. I mean, this pandemic is like has been like the dark night of the soul initiation for us collectively. And any of us that were activated before that, it's like our responsibility to kind of, share a story, even more so, right? To support everyone coming online right now. One of the things that I'm excited about too is like to really ground it and make a bridge for people that, this is all new. This all might be new for, where like, a lot of the quantum physics and the science coming out right now is really helping to draw that bridge of the truth of our energetic field of resonance, of how all of this is really coming together for us. And one of the things that I've been, really calling in, or really called to create, is an alliance of conscious media makers, an alliance of within the industry, to do like a think tank group, essentially, to start doing these scientific tests on, brainwave states, heart coherence, nervous system physiology, how we're impacted by art and story, like how consciousness is literally like transformed through the rewriting of these stories and through the sound and the visuals, and really start to see, just like you would medicine, right? To see the impact, bioresonant field, biofeedback of medicine. I see media as medicine. I see story as medicine for the collective right now. And so we're experimenting in a study coming up soon with having people watch, these expressions that we're talking about, that we're creating, films that have been created to share these deep messages of forgiveness, of the pathway to forgiveness, to compassion, of the pathway to healing. Because when we start to see stories that essentially like embody and model for us solutions and a new way of being in the world, it starts to open up for us. It starts to open up for us. And we start to have new pathways, new neurological pathways connected, and possibilities open. We're literally rewiring our brains as we're witnessing, new possibility. And so can we become more responsible for how we treat this planet, and also how we treat each other, by what are the stories we're telling each other, right? What is the collective story that we're telling, that we're holding for the world, and what is the vision, the new vision we can hold that allows us to have a new North Star to live into, like we know what's the guiding light, because I think there's been a lot of documentaries that have focused on the problems, and that was useful too, because people needed to wake up, right, to the shadows that were being hidden.
We need the whistleblowers.
We need that. Yeah. And that's a phase. And we also need to know what to do next. We need to know what is, we need people to, so that's the part of the movement that I'm a part of, is like this integral conscious media that starts to model solutions, starts to inspire them in us, and ask the questions that lead us to the solutions. So this is the biggest passion. I have to say, like, I really encourage people to come out to the Illuminate Film Festival. It's going to be happening May 20th to 26th. We're going to be sharing a series of incredible films along these lines. And we actually are premiering, we have a world premiere coming up of a film called The Way of Miracles, where I get to, we're going to have a panel talk, and I get to interview and talk with Deepak Chopra and Bruce Lipton, Shamanic Jane, and just incredible, like, pioneers basically in energy medicine. And that film is another, like, example of how do we actually, like, look at our health from a resonant standpoint, from an energetic standpoint, right? From a place where we can be responsible and empowered beings that steward our temple, right? Without needing to rely just on, a doctor's diagnosis. I mean, to be honest, like, we're all so individual. There's no one map for all of us. So we're really called to get in tune with ourselves and ask ourselves, what does this body need? What does my emotional field need? What do I need to help myself on this journey that I'm uniquely on? And it's different for everyone. So this film is great in that it empowers us to be in that inquiry and to find that for ourselves, and to find our unique healing path, and open up to miraculous possibilities that go beyond what we thought, other people told us was possible. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be April 8th too. So I have to look out for that at the Illuminate Film Festival world premiere. But so part of my pleasure and mission too is to just, again, help amplify, like you are, these, the messages and the people that are doing this great work. The more we get to share them, the more people realize, again, we're not alone. We start to find our tribe. We start to connect the dots and do what's ours to do, instead of trying to do everything the hard way.
Ooh, did that. Trying to do that. The very masculine, linear business model for years, and just even moving into the spaciousness of, like, feminine, to find feminine. One friend was like, so show me your business plan for 1111 Unify. I'm like, nope, I can't, because I'm birthing it right now. It's just an experience that's occurring, and everybody's jumping on board, and we'll deal with that later. It's paperwork.
Well, that's the new story,
there, right?
Yeah, that's how we're living now. That's the playground we're in right now. Is emergence. I love this word. emergence, where we're not locking onto an idea and saying, okay, this is it, and I'm going to make it happen. Rather than we're in kind of this soup of creativity, and we start to resonate, we start to feel in resonance and get called to that which is enlivening and like waking up every cell in our being, right? And then we kind of come up, oh, hi. And like this.
Yes. My son just woke up. This is Cadence.
Hi,
this is Cadence Alturus. Alturus means high altitude, and cadence is frequency or vibration.
Well, then you heard your name being called.
Yes, you did. We're talking about resonance and frequency. Can you give me a few more minutes, honey bunny? You can drink some water. I'll be with you in a little while. We're almost finished here. Can I have a smoochie boochie? I love you.
Wow,
go ahead, grab it.
What a beautiful being. He literally has so much starseed energy in him. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude. Cadence, come here real quick. Come here, honey. Come here real quick. Can you say hi? This is my new friend, Maya.
Hello, Maya.
Can you look right there in the camera and so you can see your beautiful eyes?
Oh, Maya.
There you go. There you go. He is first of all, I waited 40 years to create him. And then Andrew and I, when we really called him in, like we cleaned the house and created an altar and like wrote in our journal what we wanted. And we had a whole ceremony around it. Baby, you're going to have to ask Daddy. You're going to have to ask Daddy.
Yes.
I'm literally on a live stream right now. Okay, hand me my phone, please. Okay. Go ahead, Maya.
I was going to say, no, I love this. Literally, I talk about emergence, and then immediately an emergent conversation. He emerges. No, because exactly that's what I was, like. You have to be available for what life wants to express through you without holding on to your predetermined expectations, and even just him coming in. Again, I didn't expect to talk about this, but that's the thing that I got from Shasta too, was that women right now that are holding this mission are being called to really open their channels to bring in the next generation in such a conscious way that they're not brought in with the same trauma that we were brought in with the same, like systems with cesarean, all these different ways that the children get traumatized as they come into this world. And even in our thoughts and what we're holding, what we're feeling when we're calling them in,
invited and loved.
Them. Inviting them, loving them, and calling in the highest frequency all the way through, singing it through into being.
I wanted to speak to that for a moment, because when we were inviting him in and when we were asking exactly what we wanted in a child, like literally wrote down just like a special order from the universe, that he was consciously conceived, he was invited, he was loved from the beginning. And so it's so different than oops, an accident, or I didn't want, or and so just even in his consciousness, he is a loved being. And you can experience that when you're with him. There's certain people in our lives that just don't even want children. And then when they meet Cadence, they're like, I actually might, be open to this now. And so he activates something within people when you're with him. And he's so special and I adore him. And one of the things that really came forward for me when I was pregnant with him was what was my intake. And so I love sci-fi movies, right? And when I was pregnant, there were certain things that I just could not watch. I could not watch violence. I could not watch like Game of Thrones, things like this. I needed the energy and the resonance field to be balance and love and forgiveness and compassion and acceptance. And so even the media that I was viewing when I was pregnant, I was very mindful of. So, I just want to speak to that as women who are bringing in children and this next generation of leaders, awakened leaders, is to be mindful. Be mindful of what you put in your body, food-wise, water, every media, everything. your
Exactly.
reactions to things, like really sit and respond, have a responsibility instead of reacting, like really learning how to come into resonance and balance and be in the energy that you want your child to be, because you are cultivating that in the womb. Or
Absolutely.
for
And
that.
imprinting. It's the first imprint. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in a total sponge
Yep.
to receive, all of it. They're feeling all of it from the moment you even connect to them in the astral plane, like, and call them in.
Yep.
There's a beautiful practice from an indigenous tribe that I forget, but it's in Africa, where when a woman wants to conceive, they sit under the sacred tree and just sit and open and listen. And they listen and listen in meditation until they hear a song, they hear a melody, they hear this vibration come through to them, and they start to sing it and hum it, and becomes the medicine song that is the song of this being and child that wants to come through. And they sing it and they sing it. And this is my favorite story. They sing it, sing it, and then they realize, okay, this is them. I'm receiving you. By singing it, I'm saying yes to you.
Yep.
And they teach it to their partner, and they sing it together as they conceive the child. They're like, the song is the invitation. Yes, yes, calling you in. And as the child is cultivated in the womb, singing the song, you're here. We hear you. We see you. The human being needs to be witnessed, needs to be acknowledged, needs to be given presence. And so that's the most powerful presence, is to be able to sing someone's song in essence. And the beauty of this whole tradition is their whole culture is woven around it. So as they come up, as they're born, they teach the song to the community, to the midwives. Everyone sings the baby into being. In every ceremony at the marriage, they sing the two songs of the two beings together in a medley. All of this stuff. But the thing that really gets me the most, the thing that always gets me really emotional, is that when a person, loses their way and, does something to harm another or to harm themselves or the community, rather than, ostracizing them and casting them out or punishing them, they bring them to the center of the community, of the sacred tree. They create a circle around that being, and the entire community sings their song back to them.
I love it.
To sing them back into harmony, to sing them back into resonance, because they realize they just forgot their song. They lost their way. They started to sing a distorted song, and they're perfect as they are. They just need to be reminded. And they sing and they sing and they sing until the person literally has a miraculous breakdown, recalibration of how they see themselves, the world. They forgive themselves, and they come back into wholeness and fullness and healing. I mean, that is powerful. That is what we're doing. That's what you're doing, Anastara, too. It's what you're doing when you're going to these sacred sites. Is you're tuning and you're singing the song of the planet back to humanity, because humanity, collectively, we've forgotten who we are. Collectively, we need to sing that song of higher resonance of the universe, of the planet, back to each other.
I love it. Yeah, I wanna say to you that Cadence has a song. He has his own song. We basically wrote several words and phrases that we love, and one of our best friends, May Love, put it to music and created a song. And then when she gifted it to me at my Blessing Way, she sang it to me and then gave me a recording of it. And for the next month, I needed to learn it. Andrew needed to learn it. Like, our family wanted to learn it. And each time I'd press play to start learning it, I literally would break down, start crying in like three sentences into the song. So it took me a while to learn it, but it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I don't have time to sing it to you because I want to make sure that we get your websites in here. But it starts with, blessed be your spiral through this life, sweet child. May your journey teach you all you need to know. Like this. And I want to sing the whole song to you sometime soon. I have the truth bumps, the full body truth bumps. All right, we got 1 minute. Go. Tell us website, how to get a hold of you, all the things.
I've loved this so much. Thank you. If Luminous Stories, that's the company.
Yes.
So luminousstories.com. You can kind of find everything through there. The project, New Story Earth, is the alliance, right, of conscious media makers coming together, sharing
Awesome.
resources and best practices. IlluminateFilmFestival.com for the film festival and all these epic films we're bringing to you in April and May. Check it out. And really also great projects I'm a part of is Cinevolve and the Media Shaman Studio, which is kind of this like inner circle of like epic people pioneering, integral cinema, integral theory, spiral dynamics in terms of applied to filmmaking. So really starting to map how do we create films that actually elevate consciousness. Like there's technique to it. So there's a course with the Media Shaman Studio that teaches that. And one of the founding members. It's an incredible organization also. But I am just so grateful to get to play with you more and to share more about the stories that Luminous Stories is bringing to the world. And we'll work together on rewriting
I look forward to that.
New story.
Yes, we are so going to weave together, sister. Blessed be. Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. Thank you, Maya. And I so appreciate you. Blessings to all. Have a beautiful day.